okay. Yeah, I've got to go. I've got to go and drink some champagne. Okay, bye. Bye. Hello. Hi, everyone. Great to see you. I made it back. From South Australia, from Adelaide, just in time to be in lockdown with you guys. Dad's here trying to get the dogs out of here. It's all right, Dad. Polly was just barking because I was closing the door. Yeah, if you could just close the door if you're going to talk about things that aren't to do with champagne, that would be great. Thank you. Oh, no, Joan. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, dear. All right, who's here? Hello, Cotty and John. Great to see you. That's absolutely fine. Any fizz, gin and tonic, scotch and soda, all good. Hello, Kay. Hello, Rob and Deb. Alison, how you going? Shell, how are you? Peter and Karen, of course you couldn't get the champagne up there. I knew it was going to be a bit tricky, so I'm sorry about that, guys. But these champagnes were donated to me, by the Champagne Bureau. And the Comité Champagne in France, who do a lot of work sponsoring education about champagne around the world. And so this was a lovely opportunity for me to sort of bring two of my loves together. You guys, of course. Hello, Kenneth. How are you going? Hello, Sue. Jack and Zach, g'day. Yeah, so I've got two champagnes. I kind of feel like every time we have a special treat wine, something terrible in the world, something out in our world happens that we don't want to happen. So I'm sorry if champagne has made us have a lockdown. Look, Polly's here. She's happy to have me back from South Australia. Hello, Emily and Kevin. Lovely to see you. Is everyone okay? You okay? I'm not sure how I am at the moment. I just raced back from, I stayed in Coonawarra last night and I heard that things were kind of changing. And so I woke up at about 5 o'clock this morning, jumped in the car and at 6 o'clock and drove and got back here. So I might be a little bit scattered tonight because I'm feeling a bit weird from all the driving. But anyway, we're here. Hi, Zoe. How you going? Good to see you. Yeah. Hi. Oh, hello, Linda. Good to see you. Yeah. No, it's it's pretty sad and annoying news, and I'm really sorry for everyone whose plans have been stuffed up for the next, in Victoria for the next 5 days. We just discovered that we're a 5-day lockdown. If anyone hasn't caught up on the news, sorry to break it to you. But Craig and all of you Sydney-siders, hello, Sarah, how you going? I've just got to say, I think it's very selfish of the Sydney people not to let us Victorians be smirky for a little bit longer about not being in lockdown. Of course, we weren't feeling like that, but we're all feeling sad together now. So anyway, let's stop being sad. Let's have some bubbles. Now, okay, I'm all over the place tonight. So, hello, Tanil. How you going? So I'm just opening the first bottle. So I know most of you weren't able to. Thank you. Yes, Craig, that's very kind of you. Jeff is sending me messages probably about the shop. Jeff, I'm doing Drinks with Kate, so I can't talk to you about the shop anymore. So if there are any newcomers tonight, welcome. Drinks with Kate is for everybody, and tonight's a really good one to join in because we're not drinking from the box that people have bought. This is an in-between tasting that we do in between each box. We usually do a cocktail. This time we had the opportunity to do champagne. So the first champagne I'm going to open is the Calsec, which is the harder one to find. Now, I know that Emperor Champagnes have it. I know that some of you tried to get it and couldn't. So I don't know if anyone's got this wine, but I will be tasting it. But I will also be opening in a moment this bottle of Laurent Perrier Millésime. Sorry, I can't speak French because I've been driving too much. 2008 vintage Laurent Perrier. So that will be delicious. Woohoo! Indeed, Jeffrey. So little. I also. Oh, were they out of stock? Sorry, Rob and Deb. That's bad. That's bad luck, isn't it? I'll tell you whether you should wait for them to get in. But yes, I think I'm very excited to taste this. I haven't tasted this before. I've had the Laurent Perrier, but not the 2008. So let's go. Before I go, I've got so much to tell you. It's so exciting, but we need to get some champagne in our glasses, and you guys, I'm sure, already have. I also wanted to show you, Anne. I'm not sure if you're logged on yet. We had planned an extension of this champagne tasting on Saturday night. There are a few of us getting together for a little champagne event. And I just wanted to let you all know that I was on the cheese course. So I bought this. So now I have to eat all this cheese by myself. I thought you'd like to know. I'm going to have some tonight with the champagne. But I will say, if you see this cheese around, it's fabulous. It's an Australian brand. It's locally made. I think it's from Gippsland, maybe. But it's like a triple cream brie style, and it's delicious. So I'll try not to eat all the cheese this weekend, but it's quite a lot of cheese to get through by myself. Oh, yes, I have neighbours. They might be able to help me. I think Mum and Dad are also offering to help me. So that's all good. All right, I'm going to get this cork out of this bottle. You've noticed that I'm keeping my thumb on the cork. Thank you, Alison. I know I can do it. I probably oughtn't to do it. But I will be wearing my elastic waisted pants as I eat the cheese. So thumb on the top of the bottle all the time after you've unwound your muesli. Thank you, Robin Deb. That's very kind. That's very kind. Well, I might be delivering some wine tomorrow if anyone's in urgent need. So maybe a slither of cheese as well. So I've unwound the muesli. I'm keeping my thumb on the top of the cork because we know that champagne corks have a lot of pressure behind them, and if you take your thumb off, then the cork potentially will shoot out. Now, if I let it shoot out here in this room, it could go through one of the many lights or the ceiling, which would make me very unpopular. It could go through a window, and if I was very lucky, it could hit me in the eye and take my eye out. Not likely because I've got my protective glasses on, but better to keep your hand on the cork. And then to get the cork out of the bottle easily, you hold onto the cork with one hand and you turn the bottle with the other hand. There's something to do with physics and big things and little things that does. Yeah, I'm sorry, Anne. I'm not going to freeze it, but when we reorganize it, I'll buy another one. It looks pretty ripe and in good condition. So we'll just eat it and we'll get another one. So, did you hear the cork come out? Probably not, because it didn't make a big pop. What you want is to just ease the cork out gently and let it just sigh as the thank you very much, Manuel. You just want it to sigh when it opens. So that wine, this is our Blanc de Blanc from Etienne Calsac. And as I say, I don't know very much about the wine. I'm looking forward to tasting it. And before I pour it, I know I'm going on and on. It's nearly 10 minutes into the tasting, and I hope you guys are already drinking. I have a selection of glasses here because we talked about this at Christmas when we had a bottle of champagne, but I wanted to go through it again because we don't use the saucers. I don't use the saucers, partly because it's very hard to actually get the champagne to go in your mouth and not down either side of the saucer. And also you lose all the bubbles. Angela, how are you going? Oh, wow. It is the 2008, Angela. Well done. So you've got it. Well done. Very, very good. No Sabrage, no Jack and Zack, not today. And very flavoured, very fancy brie flavoured crisps. Fantastic. So You can use a flute. These are both flutes. You can tell they're flutes because they've got long stems and then they're long and narrow glasses. These are your traditional modern champagne glasses that people will serve champagne in at the beginning of the night, at a party, that kind of thing. They're slightly different shapes, but they both do the same thing. They keep the bubbles in the wine for longer, but they also don't allow the aromas to develop as fast as they would if you had them in a normal wine glass. So I'm not going to use either of these. Oh, no. I'm not going to start throwing glasses around today. I'm not going to use either of these because I want to taste the wines. I am going to put my champagnes into these two Sangiovese glasses. You could even use a Pinot glass if you really wanted to open up, but I like these. These are a little bit, you can see it's a slightly, hello Nina, how you going? Welcome to lockdown number 5, indeed. So you can see it's a little bit of a wider bowl, but not too wide. So it will do a nice balance of keeping the bubbles and allowing the wine to open up. Here we go, wine in glass. I'll get the other bottle open in a minute. I know it's a bit fiddly when we've got 2 bottles to open, but anyway, wine in glass. So this is, what's sacrilege, Craig? What's sacrilege? To use a wine glass? I don't think so. Now, did you see me swirl the glass? I didn't mean to, and it's very hard to taste champagne when you're used to tasting non-sparkling wine because the first thing you want to do is give it a swirl. But with champagne and sparkling wine, you don't have to. These are the right glasses, Craig. These are good. They are. They're really good. You can try it if you want to put the wine. If you want to be really experimental about it, you can put some of the wine in that glass and some of the wine in that glass, and you'll notice the complete difference in how much you can smell and taste in the wine. This is what all the cool kids are drinking their champagne in these days. So don't swirl the glass. Good work, Craig. Do the experiment. Report back. You've got probably about 20 or 30 minutes still to report back, I'd say. I have a feeling this might be a bit of a session. Emily, those champagne in those wide flat stem glasses, so those were a traditional glass that was designed in honor of Marie Antoinette, so the story goes. And theoretically, the glass is molded to the shape of Marie Antoinette's breast. So the coupe was used very traditionally for champagne, and most probably, if you watch, in the 1920s they used them, in the 1960s they used them. They sort of came in and out of fashion, and they are wonderful if you want to pile them up and build a champagne tower, champagne fountain, and pour in the top and it all goes down and then everyone takes one. That's a good trick. I don't like to do that because I like to treat my champagne with a bit more respect. Isn't that cool, Craig, huh? So different. And if you like it better in the flute, then keep drinking it out of the flute. But if you're getting more out of the wine in this glass, then you're welcome. You can take that tip away and show everyone how to drink champagne from now on. So the coupe opens. Our queens didn't make molds of their breasts. I think, the story I heard that it was actually made after she died. So it's probably completely apocryphal. And I apologize if I was disrespectful to Marie Antoinette, but that's the story that's going around, that's where that shaped glass came from. And it was supposed to be done with the deepest regret, deepest respect, and to honor the beautiful woman that she was. Anyway, we'll move on from that. I think the coupe is problematic because you tend to want to hold the actual saucer, and that makes your champagne warm very quickly. It also loses all the bubbles very quickly because you've got a lot of surface area to the amount of wine that's in the glass. And as I say, they're quite hard to actually sip out of because, again, the rim is quite large. So if you tip it up too far, then you end up with champagne down your front. That could just be me being inelegant. But the warming up of the champagne, I think, is problematic. And they tended to be for parties to look gorgeous. But the flow rate is absolutely. Thank you, Alison. Everyone would have different shaped glasses if we made them that way, wouldn't they? The big glass is better. The flow rate is higher, absolutely. So no swirling, just you stick your nose in. And the reason we swirl the glass is to break the surface tension of the wine. I'm just going to turn off my emails because they're binging at me. Mail turn off, quit mail. There we go, that's better. Can't be having emails binging while we're talking about champagne. So you don't swirl it. The bubbles actually break the surface tension and bring the aromas up to, thank you, Nina. It is very difficult to gesticulate with a coupe. And you drink it, you tend to drink it faster because you're scared of spilling it, I think. Anyway, let's get on with this, hey? The bubbles pop and bring the aromas into the glass, so you don't need to swirl it. And you stick your nose in. Now this wine is called, as well as being from Etienne Calsac, it is a Blanc de Blanc, which means that it's 100% Chardonnay. Now in Champagne, the three major grape varieties and the three grape varieties that most people talk about in Champagne are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Meunier. Now I always call it Pinot Meunier, but I now believe that the name has been shortened to Meunier officially. So if I start talking about Pinot Meunier tonight, just forget about the Pinot Meunier. So Meunier and Pinot Noir are both red grape varieties, and Chardonnay, as you know, is a white grape variety. But in Champagne, you can make white wine, and I've got an unstable connection, so hopefully you guys can still hear me. You can make a white wine from red grapes as long as you treat the grapes very gently and you press the juice off the skins straight away. Now, I'm not getting any comments, and I'm being told by YouTube that my connection's unstable and that they're trying to reconnect. So hopefully you can still hear me. I've just had a sip of the champagne. It's delicious. It's got an incredible line and length to it. And that Chardonnay character's really coming through beautifully. Oh, good. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Good. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. If I start going funny, it's not me, it's the connection. Good. Excellent. Definitely more nose and flavour coming through in the big glass. Now, this wine, while I'm talking about this wine, I'm going to open the Laurent Perrier because I think more of you are drinking, those of you who managed to get the champagnes, more of you are drinking the Laurent Perrier vintage 2008 than the Calsac. And I can multitask, I think. Yes, Craig, I will talk about that in just a minute. Shell, what did Shell do? What did she do? It's so delicious, Emmanuel. It is so delicious. Many cheeses, sourdough, Portuguese tarts, and chopped croissant. You are grown up and you are allowed to decide what's dinner food. Absolutely, Shell. Well done. Good on you. That's awesome. Peter, you didn't get an email this afternoon. I sent an email to the whole mailing list this afternoon. So did everybody else get the email? That it was the second half of the mailing list email, Pete. It wasn't just a Drinks with Kate email. That might have confused matters. Good, excellent. I reckon you got it, Pete, but you were looking for the one with the Drinks with Kate picture, maybe. It was me saying that we'll come and do deliveries tomorrow. Did you read that bit? We will too. If people are dying for wine and we're planning to come and get some on the weekend, just send us an order and Pete and I'll jump in the car. Jeff maybe as well if we get a lot of orders. You ready, Jeff? We'll come and do some orders tomorrow. Like get some wine into your houses for you for this weekend. Awesome, Anne. Okay, so Laurent Perrier into another glass. Here we go. Ooh, that looks nice too, doesn't it? I'm not evil, Craig. I'm good. I'm teaching you new and exciting things to do with champagne and everything else. You can drink bubbly from a flute, but it will be less good bubbly, and it will be when you're at a party. And then and now I'm going to swap my glasses around because I want my Calsec on the left and my Laurent Perrier on the right, which is much more golden colour. Look at that colour difference. It's a bit hard to see with me and the wall behind, but okay, that sounds delicious. So you can already see that the Laurent Perrier, which is a blend of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, I think it might have some Meunier in it. I haven't done my homework very well because, as you know, I was driving from South Australia. So what I wanted to talk about, rather than giving you, this has got 50% Pinot Noir and 12% Meunier and however many percent left is Chardonnay, what I wanted to do is talk about the flavours in the glass, because that's what I'm most interested in. What I can say is the Calsac is 100% Chardonnay, and it's also labelled extra brut, which means that it is has a low dosage. It doesn't necessarily mean it's got no dosage, although sometimes it means it's had no dosage, but it means that it's got very little sugar in it, and so it's all about celebrating the quality of the wine. Excellent. Well, Nina, I've got a whole extravagant l'artisan brie, which I haven't opened yet because I'm too busy talking, but we do like l'artisan cheese, and I look forward to sharing it with many friends very soon. Thank you, Emmanuel. I knew someone would be able to tell me 50-50 Pinot Noir Chardonnay. That makes sense. So let's have a talk about these two wines together. The Calsac has got beautiful Chardonnay aromatics. It's got this amazing lemon fruit. It's got some honey. There's a little bit of golden, delicious apple on the nose. There's some blossom. There's some floral notes. It's really pure. It's really lovely. Emily, yes, thank you for picking me up. I will talk about dosage in just a sec. And it's got this gorgeous, almost toffee character that's coming through, which is very Chardonnay. The Laurent Perrier, on the other hand, has got some of that character. It's got some of the lemon, a little bit of apple, a little bit of honey, but it's also, and so they're the characters that you get from Chardonnay in Champagne, but it's also got this beautiful aroma of forest strawberries and raspberries. So there's a forest berry kind of character there. There's a little bit of mushroom, which also comes from the Pinot Noir. There's a little bit of mushroom, which also comes from the Pinot Noir. And it's got a much sort of broader nose. The Calsac, kind of the aromas travel kind of in a long straight line, very focused, really beautiful. I reckon that the Calsac would be fabulous with custard tarts. That's one of the things that people sort of say, oh, you can't match brut or extra brut champagne with dessert. And I think that's absolute rubbish. You can do whatever you like. And so coming back to Emily's question about the dosage, in Champagne, one of the things so Champagne is a very complicated wine to make. We start out with our Chardonnay. There's no mushroom in here, Pete. Oh, you're so funny. You start out with your Chardonnay, if you're just using Chardonnay, or there could be some Pinot Noir with Laurent Perrier, and you handpick it. You handpick it to keep the fruit in really good condition, so that then when it comes into the winery, it gets pressed straight away in a basket press. There's rules in Champagne about how much juice you can take out of a certain press load, so how hard you're allowed to press it. And what we're looking at is getting very clear, pure juice that doesn't have too much extract and doesn't have too much tannin in it. So we're pressing it very, very gently. We want pure, lovely, white juice. That then goes into a fermentation vessel. It might go into a stainless steel tank. It might go into an old barrel. It might go, often not a new barrel. There are a couple of champagne houses that play around with a little bit of new oak, but traditionally not. Even with often not a new barrel. There are a couple of champagne houses that play around with a little bit of new oak, but traditionally not. Even with the small kind of cool and groovy little
wine producers, and Calsac, I think, certainly sits in that mould. You tend not to see much, if any, new oak because it tends to overwhelm the other flavours. Questions. Which rota are you having, Craig? Emmanuel and I both would like to know. Kay, these are rules specifically for champagne, but a lot of high-quality Australian sparkling also follow these rules. The Pinot glasses are great, Alison, also for that. You just have to be really careful about twirling it too much, and you'll lose your bubbles quicker in a Pinot glass. But it's really cool, really, really good. Very, very. What do people say? Cote Blanche. Oh, nice, Pinot, Karen. That sounds lovely. So the dosage for your wine is 8 grams. The Calsac, now I'm going to have to look with my glasses off to see. It says it's an extra brut, which the Calsac, now I'm going to have to look with my glasses off to see. It says it's an extra brut, which means that it has a low dosage, as I was saying. 5 grams. Now, what's a dosage? The dosage is right at the end of the winemaking process. So we've fermented the juice into base wine. And because we're in a very cool climate, marginal climate, we have fruit that is just ripe. We've got very delicate flavours. We've got really high natural acidity and relatively lower sugar levels to turn into alcohol for the wine. So base wines will be usually have a few different base wines. If you're making a non-vintage wine, like the Calsac is, you'll probably have some back vintages to blend to add complexity. If you're making a vintage wine like the Laurent Perrier, that's got to be 100% from that vintage. So 2008 we're looking at here. But with the Laurent Perrier, they're blending Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and often from a few different vineyards. So lots of champagne houses will take fruit from different vineyards around Champagne. They'll vinify them separately as base wines. Then they'll blend them together to make the house style. Once they've got the blend that they want, they'll bottle the wine. This is how they get the bubbles in. So they put the wine in a bottle, they add a little bit of sugar and a little bit of yeast, and they close it up. And they put it down in the cellar. And a non-vintage wine has to be on lees in the cellar for a minimum of 18 months. A vintage wine is double that, a minimum of 3 years. Most quality producers will go for longer than that, but that's a house choice. Once the sugar is all used up by the yeast will die, and you have what we know of as yeast lees left in the wine. And the longer you leave the wine on the yeast lees, the more flavour those lees will add to the wine. They'll break down and they'll add a slightly Vegemite, slightly toffee, slightly honey, slightly bready, brioche character. Emmanuel, I'm really enjoying both. I think they're really, really interesting. I haven't put the Laurent Perrier in my mouth yet, so I probably should do that. So I think that's really interesting, because Anne has pointed out that the Laurent Perrier seems to be drier than the Calsac. And I haven't got the details on the Laurent Perrier. Someone might be able to tell me, but it does taste like it's got a very low dosage as well. So the dosage is right at the end. After you've finished aging the wine on lees, you've got to get the lees out. We do the riddling and the removal of the lees, which I can explain a bit more in a minute, because I want to get to the dosage, answer that question first. And then when the wine's ready to be corked and labelled, just before you put the cork in, that's when you add the dosage. And you're adding a little bit of sweetened base wine to the wine. And that's because champagne has this, as I said before, very high natural acidity. And that little bit of residual sugar will give you hello, John. How you going? I'm getting myself all mixed up with my winemaking techniques and all sorts of things. Lovely to see you. Bonsoir. 8 grams for Laurent Perrier, 8 grams for Calsac. So they're exactly the same. 5 grams for Calsac, I think I said before, didn't I? Yes, 5 grams for the Calsac, 8 grams for the Laurent Perrier. So even though the Laurent Perrier has a little bit more sugar in the dosage,
it tastes drier because it's got more of those earthy, mushroomy Pinot Noir flavours. So it's also a vintage wine. So the vintage wines tend to be more, when they're young, they tend to be tighter and finer and kind of more linear, whereas a non-vintage wine will have some base wine in it that gives it a bit of layering and a bit of richness and a bit more oomph, which will often make it look a little bit less dry, less austere. So it's very interesting. I still haven't really answered your question, Emily, about dosage, and what that sugar is added for, as I said, is to just counterbalance the acid when the wine is young, and that little bit of sugar added back into the wine, it doesn't re-ferment because we've already got rid of all of the yeast has been dead in the wine for a long time, and we've got that out of the wine using the riddling and remuage and disgorging methods to get that out. And we then put that sugar in to just soften the acid. If you've ever made homemade lemonade with lemon juice, the more sugar you add, the less tart it seems and the fruitier it seems. And that's exactly the same for champagne. The more sugar you add, the more you soften the acid, but it makes the wine seem more fruity as well. And if you add too much, it will sometimes make the wine seem a little bit out of balance. So 5 grams and 8 grams is moderately low. A brut champagne, which is champagne that is labelled as dry, can have up to 12 grams per litre, and so it's not dry, but it still should taste dry because all of that acid hides the sugar. I hope that makes sense. All right, so as I was saying, I don't know what I was saying. I'm completely lost. Quick, ask me another question. It's still saying that my connection's unstable. So if people are having trouble following me, please let me know. I'll stop being insecure and I'm just going to keep talking. Emmanuel has asked me which wine I prefer so far. And it's really interesting for me because I have a real love of Blanc de Blanc champagne. And the Calsac for me has this incredible purity and line, and it's got a little bit of softness and richness to it. It tastes to me as though the fruit had beautiful ripeness because it's got not too much. Thank you. The fruit's got, and you can taste that it's not sweet on the finish. It's got that lovely kind of dry, minerally, chalky character on the finish, which is just awesome. If you're matching it to your cheeses, then it'll go really well. Shell said that it was going well with her chocolate croissant and her Portuguese custard tarts. So sometimes that acidic kind of nature to a wine goes really, really well with slightly sweeter, creamier flavors as well. If you like those things, then go for it, do it. I think that's really exciting. The Laurent Perrier, on the other hand, is a wine that I would probably plan to serve with food if I was having it with I would have it with a meal. I'm looking forward to tasting it with the cheese because on its own, it's quite austere at the moment. I think it looks really elegant, but it's got lots of layers of flavour. It's quite exquisite, and I think with some food, with maybe I mentioned in the email last week, chicken sandwiches. I think this would be great with some roast chicken or some chicken sandwiches or something like that. I think it'd be great with some creamy cheese. And that's going to open up and it's going to change in the glass, in your Chardonnay glass or in your Pinot Noir glass. And I read that some of you Shell has switched glasses. Some of you have switched to Pinot glasses. I know, Shell, it's a little bit of a shock when you see the difference between what a flute will do and what one of these will do to your champagne. Pete, oh, thank you. Pete's having JM Solescence Extra Brut with 50% Chardonnay, 40 Meunier, and 10% Pinot Noir. So that's similar in a way to the Laurent Perrier blend, although the Laurent Perrier is more Pinot Noir without the Meunier, 50-50, 2 grams dosage for Pete. So that's really dry. Well, yes, I know, Alison. I've got to say, if you're going to buy something special, then you might as well just go crazy and buy something really special. And great champagne, we deserve it. We especially deserve it tonight, I think. And Jill and Richard are sharing these 2 bottles with me. I'll probably put a stopper in the top of them eventually, but gee, they're delicious. And I think every night you deserve a treat, but on a night like tonight, we deserve a special treat. Good champagne makes anything seem slightly less sad. Craig, good. God, Craig's got all the good questions. I'm not sure if you asked a question right at the beginning, Craig, which I can't remember what it was, but I did not answer it. But I can answer this one. Champagne, why does champagne make you feel drunker, for want of a better term, than table wine? And Alison has answered the question quite well, bubbles. So why is it the bubbles? The bubbles help to get the alcohol into your bloodstream faster. So you do actually get slightly more tipsy quicker. It sounds lovely, Peter and Karen. And we also often have a glass of bubbly before we've had anything to eat, and it'll hit your empty tummy quite quickly. But it also, it just kind of, those bubbles, it's not heavy, it's cold and it's fresh, and you probably drink it maybe a little bit faster than some table wines. And I have got my glass of water, my responsible service of alcohol. I think that's right, Emmanuel. I was going to say that it's one of the reasons that people like to have a glass of champagne at the beginning of a party, because it just makes you relax a little bit quicker, makes you happier a little bit quicker. It just puts a smile on your face, and you're just kind of ready for a little bit of music and a bit of talking, and it's a really good way to get people in the mood for chatting to each other and having a nice time. And I think it's worked really well tonight. So there you go. It is true, Nina. It is true that it does. It helps to get into your little into your bloodstream a little bit quicker. Well, Rob and Deb, perhaps I could, but at the moment, what I'd like to say, Rob and Deb has asked if I can recommend any Mornington Peninsula bubbles, and there are lots of good sparkling wines made in Australia, but I would like to say right now that people ask often why we don't make sparkling wine here at Moorooduc Estate, and I feel quite strongly that there's a lot of good sparkling wine out there in the world, but I have a huge passion for champagne. And there is no such thing as champagne that doesn't come from champagne, no matter what Vladimir Putin wants to tell us. I don't know if you read that news this week that Vladimir Putin is changing the labelling of champagne in Russia. But anyway, it's we won't go into that at the moment. Have a Google. It's quite interesting. But when I want to have a glass of correct, John, champagne only comes from champagne. And when I want to have a special glass of bubbles, then I'm afraid I always reach for champagne. And it's just kind of has a style and has a quality that I find very hard to find anywhere else. There's lots of people who make good sparkling wine on the Mornington Peninsula, and I can certainly recommend those another time, but I'm going to stick with talking about champagne tonight. So I'm going to stick to the topic. And one of the reasons that champagne is so special is that they've been doing it for a long time. Also, they have some very special soil. They have very chalky soil. They have a very special climate, and they have some very special people. And it all comes together to make wine from an amazing part of the world. So I'm going to have another sip. Good old Vlad. Political banter. No, we're moving away from that very quickly, Craig. We're just kind of edging backwards. One of the things I love about that Calsac is, as well as having that lemony fruit character coming through, it's really showing its yeast autolysis. It's showing the chalky character from the soil, but also it's showing that sort of yeasty, brioche, almost oyster shell flintiness on the nose and also on the palate, and I think it's really special. And I think you said you were eating oysters with your champagne. I think it would be an amazing oyster match. I think that's thanks, Craig. Thanks, Craig. have another. The Laurent Perrier is opening up really nicely. It's still pretty tight and pretty fine, but it's the other thing about champagne that's got Pinot Noir as a different shape on the palate. People get confused between non-vintage and vintage, thinking that vintage should be bigger and richer and more layered. And often vintage is not. Often vintage is tighter and finer because it's only one vintage, whereas your non-vintage champagne is layered up with, I know, Shell, I can't stop myself. Non-vintage champagne is layered up with reserve wine, which gives it extra complexity early on. Chardonnay complexity early on. The other that people get confused about is differentiate between Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in champagne. And sometimes you can see those Chardonnay lemon, honey, floral characters that are typical of the Chardonnay grape variety. And sometimes in Pinot Noir in champagne, you can see the forest fruit, the strawberries, raspberries. Well, we're getting towards, if you can hear